Hey everyone, this is Jono. So I got a question from one of my members and I want you to use this video as an opportunity to answer it. So let's dig in. So I got a question from Dawn S and she asked, hey Jono, my community is a bit of a ghost town. How do I bring it back to life? Now, this is a pretty common complaint with many communities. So the good news here, Dawn, is that you are not alone. Okay, what typically happens is a community starts, there's a reasonable amount of activity, and then it kind of peters off. And it can be very depressing when that happens because you've spent a lot of time on your community launch and they're like, well, what's going on? Okay, but the good news is it's completely fixable. And what I'm gonna share in this video is gonna get you on the right track, okay? So let's first of all talk about the cause of this. Like, why does this happen, okay? Now, typically, the reason why a community becomes a ghost town is because of a lack of value, okay? A lack of value. And what I mean by this is that your community is like everything else in the world. It is competing for attention. If you think about the world, it's full of distractions. There's Netflix and there's sports and there's hobbies and there's families and there's work and there's all of this stuff kind of going on. So what we need to do to stop your community being a ghost town and to turn it into the awesome, thriving environment that you want it to be is we need to provide value that makes it an irresistible place to come and spend time, okay? So this is where we're gonna dig into some recommendations, okay? So there's three things that I wanna recommend here, okay? 1, 2, 3. The first thing you're gonna need to do is to get clear on needs, okay? So in other words, what does your audience want? Who are your audience and what do they care about? Now, the reason why we start here is that if you don't know what your audience wants, if you can't have a reasonable guess of what your audience wants, then you're going to be in real trouble, okay? Because the whole goal of a community is to be super valuable to your audience, okay? Now, a good place to start, if you're unclear about this, is to zone in on what their pain points are. So when you think of your audience, what sucks about their lives? So let's say you're building a community of photographers, right? Well, what do most photographers struggle with? I'm not a photographer, so I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing a lot of photographers are trying to build a business and they don't know how to sell their prints online. They don't know different types of service that they can offer. Maybe they can go and do weddings and they can do artistic shoots and they can sell prints. Maybe they can sell merchandise. Where do they start? What else are the photographers going to struggle with? Well, maybe they don't know how to understand and decipher all the technology that's kind of appearing in the photography world, or what kind of lenses they're supposed to buy, or how do they go and get their first client if they want to do like wedding photography, all kinds of ideas. So sit down there with a piece of paper and a pen and just brainstorm all the things that suck about your audience's life, okay? If you are a member of your audience, let's say you're building a community of software developers and you're a software developer, think about what sucks about your life and that'll help you to get to that quickly, okay? So when you've got that big list, do that first before you move on to these next steps. You can pause the video now if you need to. Do that first, but then what you want to do is every week you want to deliver 2 pieces of value, okay? It really is as simple as this, is that the vast majority of communities that I see out there when they're struggling is that someone sets up a forum or a Discord channel or whatever it might be, and they basically say, there's the community, go and check it out. So people will show up and some people may ask questions and get some responses, but most people don't get motivated and excited about just Q&A, Q&A, Q&A. However, if you could go to a community, if you're a photographer, you can go to a community and every week there are 2 pieces of value in that community that help you to develop your skills, to achieve your goals and where you want to go in life. Would that be valuable? Of course it would, right? So you want to deliver those 2 pieces of value every week, okay? Now, what do I mean by value? Okay, well, it can come in many different forms, okay? So it could be, for example, written content, such as a blog post. It could be audio, such as a podcast. It could be video. It could be a demo. It could be software that you're sharing, or it could be code that you're sharing if you're in a technology community, or it could be, I don't know, what else? It could be an article that you're sharing. Okay, these are all different types of value, and the key thing is that you figure out all of these different things and make sure that they point to your pain points of your audience, right? So imagine our fictional, our photography community. Imagine if just twice a week you go and share some written content that zones in on those pain points. So maybe on a Tuesday, you write a blog post, an article. So let's say it's going to be how to pick, lenses for a new photographer. And you write a blog post where you can show people how to pick 3 lenses within $500, something along those lines. That goes up on the Tuesday. Then what happens is on the Thursday, you go and find an interesting article on the internet about another topic, and you share that and you say, let's have a conversation around it. The key thing is that you're curating this material every single week. If you don't do this, then your community is just going to be kind of boring, okay? And then what we do is we pull back in, okay? So your community members who haven't been to the community for a while, we need to kind of pull them back in to show them this content. There's a few ways in which you can do this, right? One way is that you send them email. Email is a very effective technique for pulling people back into communities, because if you send someone an email, reasonably they're going to get it, okay? Unless you've got terrible email reputation, it's going into spam, which for most people is not the case. Just go and get their email address from when they signed up for your community platform and send them an email whenever you have a new piece of content. So if you put your content out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, email them on Tuesdays and Thursdays to notify them, but you don't link to a separate blog post or anything like that. All of this gets published inside of your community, so you link to where they can go and find it inside of their community. Another thing you could do, of course, is going to be social. Ooh. Okay, so just to recap this, the reason why we typically have ghost towns and communities is that there's not enough value. There's not enough of a reason for people to come back. So first of all, get clarity on who your audience is and brain dump all of their pain points, what they're struggling with, okay? Then just commit to yourself to deliver value twice a week. I recommend Tuesdays and Thursdays. It can be any of these different types. One thing you might want to do is create a whole bunch for the next 2 or 3 weeks and then just schedule them to go out. And then what you do is you pull people back in when you publish that value. And if you do this regularly, you will get that momentum going in your community and you'll be in good shape. Anyway, I hope this was useful. As is always the case, I'm an open book. I love to hear your questions. I love to hear your feedback. Just let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Give me a yell, and I'll see you on the next one.